Finn Creaney was a 33-year-old survival expert from Scotland's Pitcairn region, a man who didn't just teach bushcraft, he lived it. Through his school, Wildcat Bushcraft, he taught children how to forage, build shelters, cook over fire, and understand the rhythms of the land. He also shared his knowledge online, slowly building a loyal audience that admired his calm, grounded approach to the wilderness. But one day, that same wilderness swallowed him completely. On March 25, 2022, Finn was dropped off on the B873 road near Loch Naver in Sutherland. His plan: hike 45 miles south to Golspie while documenting bushcraft techniques for an upcoming YouTube video. His family expected the trip to take more than a day, so when he didn't arrive immediately, no one panicked. But 3 full days passed, and every call to his phone went straight to voicemail. His father filed a missing person report, still hoping Finn was simply delayed, or had broken his phone, or had taken shelter somewhere remote. But that hope didn't last. Police launched a massive search. Officers scoured the areas around Loch Naver. Drones were deployed. Helicopters swept the hills. Nothing. Not a footprint, not a scrap of clothing, not a single clue. Finn's disappearance even aired on a British missing persons program. Still nothing. Months turned into a year, and yet Finn's father, Mark, refused to give up. He searched the landscape again and again, day after day, week after week. Then, 19 months after Finn vanished, he found something: Finn's backpack, partially hidden in the bushes along the bank of Loch Naver. Though Mark never revealed everything inside, the discovery led the family to one heartbreaking theory. Finn may have attempted to swim across the loch as a shortcut and drowned. For months, they kept searching for his body, but eventually, they made the agonizing decision to stop, to accept that Finn was truly gone. But the internet wasn't convinced. Why would an experienced survivalist attempt such a dangerous swim? Why take a shortcut so early in a long journey? Why risk everything when he still had miles to go? Speculation exploded. Did he vanish intentionally? Did he end his life? Was foul play involved? Or did the wilderness simply overpower him? The truth is, no one knows. No evidence has ever appeared. No body has ever been found. To this day, Finn Creaney's disappearance remains one of Scotland's most haunting modern mysteries. And with that, we move into another tragedy, this time captured on a mountainside far from home. Albert Dyrlund was a Danish actor and YouTuber whose charisma, humor, and creativity made him one of Denmark's most beloved online personalities. Since 2016, he had uploaded more than 220 videos, comedy sketches, music videos, behind-the-scenes chaos, all delivered with a playful charm that earned him over 170,000 subscribers. In 2018, he starred in Team Albert, a comedy film about a teenager dreaming of YouTube fame. The movie became a hit, ultimately winning the Blockbuster Audience Award at the 2019 Danish Film Awards. By 2021, Albert had built a vibrant career and a loyal fan base that stretched far beyond Denmark. But on July 28th of that year, tragedy struck. Albert was hiking Mount Siseta, part of Italy's Dolomites, while filming content for his channel with friends. Earlier that day, he posted an Instagram story showing his breathtaking surroundings. Hours later, he fell more than 600 feet to his death while recording a video on his phone. Rescue helicopters were deployed immediately, but Albert was pronounced dead at the scene. The Dolomites are known for their towering limestone walls, sharp ridges, and sudden drop-offs, terrain where a single misstep can be fatal. Investigators confirmed the group had been hiking a route linking 2 peaks, but the exact circumstances of his fall remain unclear. News of Albert's death devastated the Danish YouTube community. Fans flooded social media with tributes, calling him a national icon, one of Denmark's brightest, funniest, most original creators. His channel had accumulated more than 90 million views, and his influence stretched far beyond the borders of his home country. His passing became a painful reminder that filming in extreme terrain carries real, unforgiving risks. To this day, Albert Dyrlund is remembered for his humor, his talent, and the joy he brought to millions. A creator whose spark burned bright, and whose loss left a deep silence across the YouTube world. And as we leave the mountains behind, the next clip brings us somewhere far more ordinary. A quiet Ohio neighborhood where a mystery unfolded just across the street.
Harley, if you see this mom loves you so much. I'm tired of holding on. I want you home.
This is the mother of 14-year-old YouTuber Harley Dilly pleading for her son to come home. A message recorded in desperation, hope, and fear. What she didn't know at that moment was that Harley was already gone, in a way almost too painful to imagine. The story began on December 20th, 2019, in Port Clinton, Ohio. It was the last day before Christmas break. A chaotic, overstimulating day that Harley wanted no part of. For a boy living with autism and sensory processing challenges, disruptions to routine could feel overwhelming. He begged his mother to let him stay home. She insisted he go. He left the house that morning, walking toward school as he always did. But he never arrived, and he never returned home. What followed was a 3-week mystery that consumed the town. Surveillance footage confirmed Harley walked toward school. But the school, which should have alerted the family when he never checked in, failed to do so. And for 41 hours, Harley's parents assumed he had stayed overnight with a friend, as he had done the week before. Only then, after nearly 2 full days, did they call the police. For a child with his vulnerabilities, the delay was alarming, and it quickly drew scrutiny. Search efforts began immediately. Drones scanned the shoreline. K-9 units swept neighborhoods. Volunteers combed through fields. Rumors surged through the community. Was he abducted? Did he run away? Was he hiding? Or had someone close to him harmed him? Fueling the speculation was an old YouTube clip from 2018, a moment where Harley argued with his mother over a broken laptop she refused to repair. He was briefly locked outside afterward. A normal, if tense, discipline situation.
Hey guys, what's up? It is Harley Dilly. Probably one of my worst days in my life. So basically, I was at school and I was science test. I finished it and my computer says 1% battery left. So when I get to the next class and I put it on charger as quick as possible, but it didn't charge. None of the computers would take a charge. So I took it back and I had to fill out a complaint, and that's one of the most expensive parts of the computer. And my mom said she's not paying anything. That's when I got home. So then my mom wanted me to go with her to go get a friend, and I said I don't want to. I have work to do, so I want to go home and stay. So she said no. We argued for about a good 5 minutes. And then she snapped. She said she was gonna call police, and she said she already did. And she said, who do you think that first call was to? And she said it was the police, but I knew it wasn't. So she lied to me to get me scared, and she locked me out of the house. So right now I'm outside. Yep, the house is locked. It is 3:30. I haven't ate anything, and I still haven't even got to get my work done. My mom's gone. She won't answer the phone. So right now I'm alone outside.
But online, strangers turned it into something darker, labeling it abuse, accusing his mother of mistreating him. She was forced to endure an avalanche of criticism while praying her son would come home alive.
Stop basting my family. Harley, please come home. Please come home. Let him go. Please. I want him home. I'm tired of crying. I'm tired of being strong when I can't be. You guys are such monsters. I can't believe that you would be like this to a family that's not got their son. He is my son. I love him. And I want him home. Let him go if you have him. Let our family move on. Please. Harley, if you see this, Mom loves you so much. I'm tired of holding on. I want you home.
For 3 agonizing weeks, the search turned up nothing. Then, on January 13, 2020, investigators focused on a vacant house directly across the street from Harley's home. They forced entry, hoping to rule it out. Inside a bedroom near the chimney, they found his coat and glasses. For a brief moment, hope flickered. Maybe he was alive somewhere inside. Then came the devastating discovery. Using a small camera inserted into the chimney flue, likely where Harley had dropped his clothing to make space. Investigators saw him. He was trapped upright in a shaft only 9 by 13 inches wide, halfway down, arms pinned, completely unable to move. He had likely suffocated within hours of entering. Police reconstructed the scene. Harley had climbed a metal TV antenna attached to the side of the house, reached the roof, and attempted to enter the vacant building through the chimney. Whether out of curiosity, shelter, or panic remains unknown. Once inside, the narrow flue constricted. He removed his coat and glasses, let them fall, and slid in after them, only to become wedged. Alone, unable to breathe, unable to call for help, he died within shouting distance of his home. More rumors followed. Some insisted his parents locked him out. Others claimed he was forced to seek shelter. But investigators relied on evidence, not speculation. The autopsy was conclusive. Accidental compressive asphyxia. No trauma. No signs of foul play. No forced entry to the house apart from the police themselves. In the end, Harley's death was not a crime. It was a tragic misadventure. A boy entering a house the wrong way, unaware of the danger waiting inside the chimney's narrow walls. His loss left a lasting scar on Port Clinton. Some residents still blame the parents. Others blame the school. But the truth is far simpler and far more heartbreaking. Harley was a curious, bright teenager caught in a moment of tragic miscalculation. A life ended too soon. A mystery that gripped a community. And a reminder that sometimes the darkest answers lie heartbreakingly close to home. Now, with that in mind, we shift into a new story, one that begins with a simple morning hike in the Arizona desert. Hannah Rose Moody was a 31-year-old YouTuber and influencer from Scottsdale, Arizona, known for her strong Christian faith on YouTube and her vibrant hiking adventures on Instagram. She moved to Arizona just 6 months earlier, and the desert quickly became her sanctuary. Several times a week, she hit the trails, exploring the rugged beauty of the McDowell Sonoran Preserve. May 21st was supposed to be no different. She woke early, drove to the Gateway Trailhead, and began the 4.5-mile loop, a moderately challenging trail with rocky inclines she had tackled many times before. Confident she would finish in under 3 hours, she even made plans to meet friends for lunch. But Hannah never showed up. At first, her friends assumed she was running late. But hours passed with no messages, no calls, and no signs of her. It was completely unlike her. By 7:50 p.m., worried that something was seriously wrong, they drove to her home. Her car wasn't there. The house was dark, the door locked. They called the authorities immediately. Her car was found exactly where she left it, parked at the trailhead. Search teams mobilized quickly, helicopters, drones, canines. But the darkness eventually forced them to halt operations until sunrise. The next morning, the search resumed with even more urgency. At 12:05 p.m., a helicopter pilot spotted something devastating. Just 600 yards off the trail lay Hannah's body, face down on the desert ground. She had been dead for several hours. There were no signs of foul play, no signs of a fall, no signs of intoxication. Nothing explained why such an experienced hiker never made it home. The truth came from the weather. The temperature in the region had soared to 102 degrees Fahrenheit, around 39 degrees Celsius, the day she hiked. Investigators concluded she likely suffered a heat stroke, became disoriented, wandered off the trail, and collapsed in the desert sun. What began as a routine morning hike ended in a tragic accident, one that serves as a painful reminder of how unforgiving heat can be, even for experienced hikers. Her Instagram and YouTube posts, once full of life and beauty, unknowingly became her final goodbye. And from the desert heat, we move straight into another loss, this time not on the trail, but on the road home from an adventure. Andrew Cross was a 36-year-old outdoor YouTuber from Grand Junction, Colorado. His channel, Desert Drifter, blended archaeology, exploration, and cinematic storytelling into one of the fastest-growing outdoor channels on YouTube. He filmed everything from ancient stone structures to mysterious World War II tunnels, uncovering history with a camera and a contagious sense of curiosity. In just 14 months, he built a massive audience. His viewers adored him, they trusted him, they looked forward to every new upload. But then, without warning, Andrew stopped posting. At first, fans assumed he was working on an especially ambitious project. But on February 2nd, the truth came from his wife, and it was far worse than anyone imagined. Andrew had been in a catastrophic car accident. On January 31st, 2025, he was driving home from filming a video on the Bears Ears National Monument in Utah. As he waited at a stoplight at the intersection of First Street and North Avenue, an out-of-control vehicle slammed into him at a dangerously high speed. His car flipped. His head struck violently. He suffered severe brain trauma. He was rushed to the hospital and placed in the ICU. For more than a month, he remained on life support. His family never left his side, hoping for a miracle. But eventually, doctors made it painfully clear: Andrew would not recover. On March 4th at 10:50 a.m., surrounded by family, Andrew was gently taken off life support. His audience mourned deeply. Hundreds of thousands of viewers who had been eagerly waiting for his next upload suddenly found themselves grieving a man they felt they knew. Fans raised more than $544,000 to support his wife and family during the unimaginable loss. As for the driver responsible, Ragnar Nicholas Crystal, he was arrested on February 21st and later charged with vehicular homicide and driving under the influence. He awaits conviction. Andrew Cross left behind a remarkable legacy, a catalog of adventures, discoveries, and stories, all cut short far too soon. Which brings us into the world of venomous wildlife, and a presenter whose passion took him right to the edge. Graham Dingo Dinkelman was a 44-year-old South African wildlife presenter, conservationist, and YouTuber whose work lived exactly at the place where fear meets fascination. Since early 2020, his self-titled channel had brought venomous snakes, crocodiles, and Africa's great mammals into living rooms around the world. On camera, he was electric, upbeat, fearless, impossibly calm even with a black mamba hooked under one arm. But off-camera, colleagues described someone different, a careful planner, a meticulous handler, and a man whose mission was always to turn fear into respect. Dingo's path began early. Raised in Pietermaritzburg, he grew up surrounded by South African wildlife and eventually founded Dingo's Farm and Reptile Park in the KwaZulu-Natal Midlands. The facility became much more than a tourist stop. It was an education hub where schoolchildren learned the difference between myth and biology, and a rescue center where even the most dangerous animals were handled with discipline rather than bravado. When he launched his YouTube channel, the audience followed quickly. More than 110,000 subscribers on YouTube, over 600,000 on Instagram, and millions of views across videos that ranged from reptile husbandry to field callouts for problem snakes. His most watched uploads showcased exactly what made him unique: a steady, reassuring voice explaining the behavior of lethal species, the subtle signs of stress, the safe angles versus the unsafe ones, and the explosive speed that makes a mamba a mamba. But the channel was never just about fangs and scales. Conservation ran through everything he did, dehorning rhinos to deter poachers, collaring elephants, relocating lions, and breeding threatened reptiles and amphibians. At home, a giraffe named Elliot often wandered unexpectedly into frame. The work was serious, but the tone was joyful. That joy sparked an inevitable comparison. Viewers began calling him South Africa's Steve Irwin, and the parallel ran deeper than personality. Like Irwin, Dingo believed that connection leads to protection, that if you could help someone see a snake as more than a headline, you might earn a defender for life. He also understood the risks that came with that mission. Over the years, he documented close calls and minor envenomations, moments he turned into teachable lessons about protocol, respect, and species behavior. Expertise, he often reminded viewers, reduces danger but never erases it. In late September 2024, during routine work with an eastern green mamba, the worst-case scenario unfolded. Dingo sustained a bite and went into a rapid, catastrophic anaphylactic reaction. Paramedics and clinicians fought aggressively, anti-venom, airway management, ICU support, but the allergy turned seconds into a free-fall. He was placed in a medically induced coma, and for nearly a month his family, friends, and fans waited for a turn that never came. In late October 2024, at just 44 years old, Graham "Dingo" Dinkelman passed away. He left behind his wife, Christy, and their 3 children, Taylor, 14, Maddie, 12, and Rex, 9. A family that had become as much a part of the channel's story as the animals themselves. In the weeks that followed, tributes poured in from rangers, researchers, keepers, farmers, and ordinary viewers who had learned to identify a snake on sight, or who had simply changed the way they reacted when one crossed their path. Many wrote about his courage. Even more wrote about his kindness. The symmetry with Irwin's fate was haunting. 2 men, the same age, both taken by the very edge they spent their lives helping others understand. But stopping there misses the point. Dingo's work did not end with him. The videos remain. The park remains. The conservation projects continue. And the new family channel he launched months earlier continues the mission, living proof that what he built was never meant to be a solo act. Education lives on in habits and choices. A farmer who calls before he shoots. A child who sees beauty where a parent once saw threat. Dingo often said his calling was to convert the unconverted, to reach people who had absolutely no experience with nature or wildlife, who were scared of snakes or afraid of getting dirty, and to help them feel passion instead of fear. We can achieve this goal, he said, by sharing the right content on these social media platforms. That's why his loss rippled far beyond subscriber counts or view totals. In the end, Graham Dinkelman lived exactly as he taught, close to the animals, close to the land, and closer still to the people he loved. From deadly fangs to deadly weather, we move into a story where nature's cold fury proved just as unforgiving as any predator. Storm Debul was a 22-year-old Belgian YouTuber whose quiet videos spoke louder than words ever could. He never narrated his adventures. Instead, he let the world hear what he heard. The soft crunch of snow, the hiss of Arctic wind, the creak of frozen branches. His channel became a window into Northern Europe, filmed through the eyes of someone who felt most alive on the edge of the map. Though he only began uploading in August of 2024, Storm had been solo camping since he was 19. At one point, he even biked more than 3,700 miles, over 6,000 kilometers, across Sweden entirely on his own. He was experienced, methodical, and deeply familiar with the dangers of being alone in the wilderness. But even the most skilled adventurers can be overpowered when nature shifts without warning. That's exactly what happened on the night of October 29th, 2024. Storm was filming another solo expedition, this time in Jokkmokk, a remote region of Swedish Lapland famed for its pristine snowfields and aurora-lit skies. As usual, he'd parked his car in a nearby town and hiked deep into the wilderness with only his gear and the open landscape for company. These trips often lasted days, sometimes an entire week. This one was nearly over. He was just a day's walk from his car, but darkness was closing in too quickly. Continuing would have been dangerous, so he set up his tent for one final night. A cold breeze began to sweep across the valley, prompting Storm to mound snow around the base of his tent as a windbreak before crawling inside. Nothing could have prepared him for what came next. Only a few hours later, Yakmak was slammed by a violent blizzard. Winds howled up to 75 miles per hour, around 120 kilometers per hour, and snow piled against Storm's tent from every direction. Temperatures plunged to 21 degrees Fahrenheit or -6 degrees Celsius. But with wind chill, it felt closer to 0 degrees Fahrenheit, about -18 degrees Celsius. Sometime around midnight, Storm sent a video to a friend, showing the tent being torn apart by the relentless wind. His voice trembled as he said, "Tonight it's going to get worse. Jesus Christ." Moments later, he called his grandmother and, despite everything, tried to reassure her. "It's snowing heavily here, but don't worry, I'll survive, you know." But at 2:36 a.m., he made an SOS call to Swedish authorities. He reported multiple injuries, including a broken nose, and begged for help. But no help could reach him. The blizzard's winds were too strong for a helicopter. The snow drifts too deep for ground teams. Storm was alone in one of the harshest environments in Europe, and the weather was only getting worse. By 10 a.m., the blizzard finally weakened enough for rescuers to move. They raced towards Storm's last known coordinates. But when they found him, it was already too late. His lower body had turned purple from the cold. Even the blood from his broken nose had frozen solid. He was discovered 1.6 miles, 2.6 kilometers, from his collapsed tent. Whether he left the tent after it gave way or went searching for shelter before it failed is still unknown. All signs point to him trying desperately to reach his car, the only warm refuge left. He never made it. The only small comfort is knowing Storm died doing exactly what he loved. As he once told his father, "Dad, it took me a long time to know what I wanted, but this is what I want." His final journey was his passion, and ultimately his last. Storm chased the quiet of the North, but the next creator chased freedom on the rails, right up until the day the journey stopped. James Stoby was a YouTuber unlike anyone else on the platform. To his 60,000 subscribers, he was Stobe the Hobo, the quiet legend of America's freight rails. His videos were a blend of outlaw adventure, deadpan humor, raw travel cinematics, and the unmistakable sound of his piano playing echoing over the noise of moving steel. Train hopping is dangerous, brutally so. People have been doing it since before the Great Depression, slipping between rolling cars and traversing the country on nothing but timing, instinct, and luck. Most don't survive long in that world, but Stobe did, long enough for viewers to feel like they knew every rail line in the United States through his lens. He captured everything, Palm Beach to Jacksonville, coast to coast, endless miles of open track, tunnels, freight yards, and strange encounters along the way. In bars across the country, strangers who met him said they assumed his stories were lies. No one believed a man could actually train hop his way across America. Then he'd show them the footage, and the doubt disappeared instantly. But Stobe's search for pizza, a cold beer, and another horizon ended abruptly on November 8, 2017 in Baltimore. The details of what happened have never been clear. Media coverage was minimal. Official reports were scarce. The most accepted accounts suggest one of two possibilities. He either fell from an overpass, or his backpack became caught on a passing Amtrak train as he stood near the tracks. Either scenario would have given him no chance to recover. Fans begged Baltimore police for more information, hoping for closure, but were asked to respect the family's privacy. And so, silence followed. Today, years later, Stobe's community still doesn't know exactly how he died, but they do know this. James Stoby passed away doing the thing that defined him, chasing freedom on the rails. His legacy, his humor, and his extraordinary footage live on in the videos he left behind. Now last but not least, we move into one of YouTube's most energetic travel groups, a team whose joy carried them around the world. High on Life was one of YouTube's biggest and most energetic travel groups, over 600,000 subscribers, more than 400 videos, and a decade of wild, joyful adventure. Since 2011, their channel showcased cliff jumps, tropical oceans, sunken ships, and the relentless pursuit of a simple motto: if you can, you should. They lived it every day. They built a career out of inspiring people to explore the world, to get outside, to appreciate the short, vibrant life they were given. But on July 3rd, 2018, everything changed. The Royal Canadian Mounted Police reported that 3 people had been swimming in one of the natural pools at the top of Shannon Falls. They slipped, lost footing, and were swept over the edge, falling roughly 100 feet. Hours later, the victims were identified: Riker Gamble, Alexei Liak, and Megan Scraper, Alexei's longtime partner. Riker and Alexei were core members of the High on Life team. Megan was family to them. Authorities later confirmed that Riker and Alexei had jumped in to rescue Megan after she slipped into fast-moving water. All 3 were swept over the falls in the attempt. Their deaths stunned the entire YouTube community. Rumors circulated that the trio may have been filming a video at the time, but this was never definitively proven. What was certain was the heartbreak left behind. The remaining High on Life team posted an emotional farewell video, a raw, painful tribute to their friends filled with stories, tears, and gratitude. A GoFundMe created to cover funeral expenses raised nearly $30,000, supported by viewers who had traveled the world through the group's lens for years. After 5 tribute videos, the channel continued posting travel content, honoring the spirit of Riker, Alexei, and Megan, who had always believed life was meant to be lived boldly. Their last upload was 3 years ago. The loss of the High on Life trio remains one of YouTube's most devastating tragedies, a reminder that even the most beautiful landscapes can turn deadly in an instant. Now that was all for today, folks. If you enjoyed these horrifying clips, click to see more on the video on screen.